Hi, I'm Meg, and this is my sad but true story of my quest to find true love both on and off the internet. He looks nice. Maybe we share 26 dimensions of similarity. My favorite food.
Italian.
My favorite book.
Catcher in the Rye.
My favorite movie.
Porn.
Maybe not. In which I covet boxes, make a nice discovery, and learn to not date people I know.
You are supposed to show off those hot legs in that Star Trek outfit. Shame, shame.
There are two things that make me jealous of guys. The first involves theater, which I have loved ever since I was young and I discovered the awesome power of the show tune. I just knew deep in my bones that I was born to play the role of little orphan Annie.
The sun will come out tomorrow in a way that hopefully does not violate copyright law. Broadway, here I come!
Alas, the sun did not come out tomorrow for young Meg. Not only did I not get to play Annie, but I can't help noticing that I'm still in Columbia, Missouri, which is actually a very nice town. And it does contain a street named Broadway, but it is not the same thing. Anyway, not getting to play Annie is actually one of the great sadnesses of my life, and also a bummer because there are a finite number of awesome female roles. Which is why I'm jealous, because whenever I audition for a play, there are always 18 actresses vying for 2 female roles, while 3 guys breeze through tryouts in utter confidence of getting cast in one of several hundred male parts. It makes me wish I had a detachable penis so that I could play an awesome character on stage, but still be a girl off stage. Because I like being a girl. We have better clothes. The other thing I'm jealous of is the way guys' brains work. Apparently they have these mental boxes and they stick things in them and they put them up on the shelf. And when they want to examine what's in a box, they just take it right down and study the contents and then they put it right back up on the shelf. Which, no big deal, I'm not jealous of this. I like my jumbly melting pot brain. But apparently guys also have a nothing box that they can take down and open up and stare at blankly. So when you ask, what are you thinking about? And they say nothing, it is actually true. Dude, I so want a nothing box because sometimes my brain gets a little too jumbly and I need a break from thinking, and the only thing that dehypers my brain is TV. The problem being that while I love smart, nerdy shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I can't watch an episode without wanting desperately to know what happens next.
So when, for example, my brother offers up his 7-season, 28-disc collection of Buffy for my viewing pleasure, I stay up until 4 a.m. because I must know, is Buffy going to get it on with Spike or what?
Ergo, I watch Mythbusters. By the way, regarding the word ergo, I have some advice for you, which is, if you are ever in college and are bright but completely unmotivated, yet must fulfill a language requirement, I recommend Latin. It's a dead language, which means nobody speaks it, which means all you do really is translate on paper, which means you can take a 2-week vacation from going to class and still get an A in the course. Although you may get a D on a quiz, causing the professor to write Meg on the top of your paper and making you feel like you ought to be grounded. Except then you couldn't go back to Latin class. So I love Mythbusters because it is nerdy and also entertaining, but very, very important, each episode is self-contained. At the hour's end, the story's over. Busted. It's awesome. My only complaint being that they blow stuff up a lot, which is fine, except they do it outdoors on the ground, and I feel bad for small reptiles and bugs who get incinerated in the process. Perhaps if I slapped that detachable penis on, I'd feel a little more stoked about the whole kerpow factor. But still, it's good stuff. New goal, become as nerdily entertaining as Adam Savage, without quite as many explosions. Indeed I might, if I were a lesbian. Although I suppose it's a dimension of similarity. The interesting thing about making a show about what I did last year is that I, the writer, cannot help noticing themes that crop up in the process, such as, say, a penchant for drama and overthinking on the part of the main character. The nice thing about watching a show about what I did last year is that you, the viewer, can know in advance that I am prone to drama and I think too much. And if this is going to drive you crazy, you can hit the back button right now. Whereas I had to learn it the hard way and be all dramatic and neurotic and weepy when I could have been calmly watching Mythbusters the whole time. Also, knowing that I eventually do realize these things about myself, you might not be quite so likely to roll your eyes quite as often. Which is good because eye rolling, kind of dramatic. I meet man in uniform for lunch on a weekday when he's on duty. I I never understand why some girls are all ooh and ah about men in uniform. Oh, yes, I see. I just lacked empirical evidence was all. There's something to be said for having lunch with a guy toting a gun, 2 magazines, a flashlight, a nightstick, and 2 pairs of handcuffs. Come on in is married. Also, he's 78 years old. I don't think we need a third strike to call this one out. So why am I searching for love online? Well, the alternative is dating someone you know, and I already tried that last year. It didn't go so well. Best friend and I met in college in 1992, and at this point in the story, January 2010, we have enjoyed 18 years of friendship. Years which, between us, have seen the rise and fall of 3 marriages. Mine, his, and now mine again. Dang it. Best friend and I have an annual tradition, which is every year we spend New Year's Eve together. Only once, when he was getting divorced and feeling Garbo-esque vaunted to be alone, did we miss it, meaning we have rung in the new year together 17 times. Best friend is probably the smartest person I know, and in addition to the new year ringing in, we occasionally have brainy, engrossing phone conversations. After my young whippersnapper husband moves out, we start talking more often.
We get to the point where we know all the mundanities of each other's day. Like, he knows that the little snack shop in my office building sells the most amazing chocolate muffins, which cost precisely $1.26 and have roughly 1,026 calories apiece.
But OMG, they are tasty, and I eat one every day for breakfast. One weekend, best friend comes for a cheer-me-up visit, and after he leaves, I discover 10 envelopes on my TV stand. Although I don't find them until Wednesday because that is when Mythbusters is on. Inside each envelope, you guessed it, precisely $1.26. Now, if you've ever gotten divorced, you know that it's really hard and kind of messy, and you come out of it feeling pretty down on yourself. And if you've ever gotten divorced twice, you know that it's a little easier, actually, because at least you know what to expect. But even if you worked really hard to try to make things work, the fact that they didn't is quite sucky. And you come out of failed marriage number 2 feeling really down on yourself. So 10 envelopes, each containing $1.26, might not seem like that much, but actually it's one of the nicest things anyone has ever done for me. By the time the divorce is final, we like...
Why'd you get divorced again?
Zenkinky, what are you doing here? I'm trying to tell a story.
It's an honest question. What happened to your marriage?
Which one?
The first one.
I was young.
The second one.
He was young.
So, youth equals heartbreak.
Sorta, yeah.
How old is best friend?
Shut up! By the time the divorce is final, we like each other a lot.
I like you a lot.
In return for the muffins and general niceness, I tried to show my appreciation for best friend by, among other things, petting his dog. Which also seems like not much, but he was very fond of his dog, and I don't like petting dogs because after you pet them, your hand smells like, dog. And if you are a slightly neurotic person who's only petting your boyfriend's dog to demonstrate your team playerness, you may unconsciously smell your hand after you pet the dog. Which may cause your boyfriend to remark that
petting the dog when you don't actually want to pet the dog isn't being a team player.
However, I think that petting the dog when you don't want to pet the dog is a sign of affection for your partner, albeit less tangible than 10 envelopes each containing $1.26. My point here is that A, perhaps there is something to that whole cat person, dog person thing, and 2, I'm really grateful to best friend, because while it took me a good long while to feel 100% okay about myself again, he got me up to a good 20 or 30%, which is actually a lot to come out of the divorce gate with. But here's the thing. I've been talking to my therapist.
Of course I have a therapist.
And she says,
getting into a relationship right after you get out of a marriage is not a good idea.
But I like him.
Maybe some books will help.
Why? What do they say?
Well, they all say that getting into a relationship right after you get out of a marriage is not a good idea.
Not to mention, A, I just started a new job, and 2, I'm directing a production of Rent, which is huge and complicated and takes a boatload of time. Plus, one of my guy friends has started flirting with me.
You look really pretty today. Hey, do you want to grab some lunch?
Which I find exciting, but confusing, but exciting.
He likes us, he likes us, he likes us!
Calm down, young Meg. See? Youth. To top it all off, best friend lives 2.5 hours away, meaning this is a long-distance relationship involving many hours of driving.
1.5 of which I spend lost in the dark in western Illinois one night, following which I get a GPS.
Even though I usually try to live deep and suck life's marrow and dive into pretty much everything, just this once I'm trying to proceed with caution. Meanwhile, he, usually cautious to the core, has decided to plunge in and start swimming. So everything's counterintuitive and wonky, kind of like when I learned to drive a stick shift. There are occasional lurches and surges, and the occasional stall. Eventually I get so confused and stressed and freaked out that the whole thing kind of implodes. Sometimes in other contexts, people say, "What's the matter? You look like you just lost your best friend." From which one might infer that losing one's best friend is apt to make one really, really sad. Confirmed. And that is lesson 1 in why to not date your friends.
Wow. Just wow. I freaking love your eyes. Not to mention your lips and your hair, sexy body. But mostly, it's your odd sense of humor.
You know, comparatively speaking, this one's not that